Hey, it's Marat. Welcome to another personal growth vlog. I watched a video by Eckhart Tolle recently, a month or two ago, and I was really inspired, so I wrote some notes. In the video, he talked about conscious evolution of consciousness, and I thought that had a really nice ring to it. And not only does it have a really nice ring to it, the idea makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. For those of you who are not super familiar with consciousness or consciousness, what is it? What are we talking about when we're saying conscious evolution of consciousness? Let's go into that first. So consciousness is your ability to know that you're alive, right? You are aware for some reason that you're alive, and you're aware at a certain level of what you're doing, and that you're not always gonna be here. Things will change, and it will change drastically. Eventually, it'll change so drastically that you, as this physical human body, will not exist anymore. And that's a very scary thought. Now, consciousness is, so that's conscious. That's you're conscious of that situation. Consciousness is the whole, kind of like you're conscious of your finite self. Consciousness is the infinite self. So you are like one finite creation within an infinite, an infinite, which is hard to grasp because our minds can't grasp infinity, because we're so like kind of, there's only so much the mind can really grasp, right? Or else you'll lose it. So consciousness is the sea, the infinite sea of creation. God, that's consciousness. So as we were talking about yesterday, Eckhart Tolle speaks on conscious evolution of consciousness. What does it take for us to evolve consciously? So he mentioned that we are now in a state where the universe is realizing its own journey and its own purpose and its own essence through you as a person, through every individual. So one really beautiful way that Leo Gura explained it in his videos with actualize.org is the universe and everything in it are constantly in a state of separation and unity. So they go through these phases of separating and then unifying. Everything you look at does this. So right now, so if you imagine the universe being one giant whole and fragmenting into itself into the like infinite amount of separate pieces, you being one of them. Now, as it's realizing the connection through each of us individually, we are slowly uniting, very slowly. It'll happen way after most of us are gone individually, but we will be a part of that unification. So we are participating in the conscious unification of this life. The struggle, he explains, is being in the transition of the shift. So if you're completely separated, like Mojo here, he doesn't realize, he's getting upset, he wants to leave. He doesn't realize that he is, don't bite me. He doesn't realize that he's part of this whole. Or maybe he does, I don't know. He's just living his life. He's not worried about jobs or personal development. He's totally in it, right? Like he's 100% in it, surviving, right? And biting the shit out of me. So he's at that stage. We as human beings are at a stage where we realize like there's a lot more to be seen than meets the eye, than survival. At least some of us do, and some of us don't. We're all on the big scale. So struggle of being in this shift is that you're never content, you're never relaxed, you're always like, what do I need to do? So let's see what other notes I wrote here. So the new mode of being in conscious participation in creation. So that's the challenge. So there's a new mode, right? You being the conscious participant in creation. You being part of creation. So what does that entail? How do you become a conscious participant? So one thing is, it happens when you face a situation and bring presence to it instead of reacting to the situation. So a good example would be, let's just use my buddy here, Mojo. He is he is not always so sweet. You know, if I do something that he doesn't like let's just say like I get a little bit rough with him and I kind of hold him and he kind of gets annoyed with it. Like right now, he's gonna start getting annoyed. And I start like messing with him a little bit, like I start petting him too roughly, right? Like start doing this. There you go. He'll bite me. He doesn't like that. He bites me to let me know, and it hurts. That he doesn't like. That he doesn't like how rough I'm being. When I'm gentle, he's cool with it. Look, he's not holding a grudge. He's chill. He's like, yeah, thanks. You got the message. You got the message. This is how I want to be petted. Not rough. Okay? And so he's reacting. Well, more so he's responding to the situation. It's too rough, he don't like it, he bites you, right? He doesn't have the awareness or the ability to convey in any other shape or form, in any other way, that he doesn't like something. He expresses himself like a 2-year-old would. He just bites you, or he'll smack you. So for us as human beings, he's in a real good mood here. But he didn't like that too much. For us, it's like not reacting to a situation and approaching it with this higher level of awareness is, don't get mad, is how we participate in conscious evolution of consciousness. Happens when you participate in creation by bringing your presence into it rather than being reactive. So how do you bring your presence into a situation and not be reactive? That takes a lot of practice. One really powerful way is taking external challenges and struggles as learning lessons and using them to dive deeper into what is it that gets your ego and triggers you, that triggers your ego, triggers your reactivity. There's something there that is bothering you, right? And it's important to ask yourself, he saw a bird, why is this bothering me? Instead of pointing the finger out and saying, this is the problem out there, you flip that inward and you bring presence into yourself and say, why is this bothering me? What is it in me that is reacting to this situation? What is it? Why? Right? This why is a very important why. And if you can prevent yourself from looking outwards and stay in your own self, in your own presence, and question yourself rather than blame the outside circumstance, then you will be practicing presence, practicing understanding what it is about yourself that is bothered. There's a hidden, unconscious reason, right, that you are reacting negatively to this situation. And what is it? It's usually something that needs your attention, something that's painful, that happened when you were a child or happened throughout your life, and it wounded you, it hurt you, it made you afraid, it gave you the opposite of love, right? It didn't love you. Someone didn't love you, and therefore this situation is bringing that up, that feel of lack, that feeling of unworthiness. External challenges are there to help us go deeper into ourselves and into our presence. When they arrive, if we focus on the external challenge, we miss the opportunity of what that external challenge is showing about ourselves, right? That happens to us a lot. If we don't go deeper, things will get worse and we will suffer more. This suffering is a very important aspect of the universe, of God, of consciousness, of your true nature, your true self, whatever you want to call it, your angel. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Of your angelic self, trying to show you that you're moving the wrong way. And you don't realize this because you're not fully conscious or aware of what you're doing. You're mostly unconscious of the mistake you're making. You're ignorant of it. So that is why suffering happens. If you start moving in the right direction, if you realize that the suffering is not there to hurt you, but to show you where you're going wrong and that you need to make a full-on U-turn and look at yourself and do the difficult work of pointing the finger at yourself and saying, what do I need to learn from this? Instead of, why is this person doing it to me? Then suffering will reduce or completely disappear, depending on the level the level, how much you learn from the situation and switch it. If you meet a situation consciously, you will change the outcome of the situation. This means that if you approach a person in a kinder manner, whether or not they have reciprocated the response, you will change the situation. Now, that's a big deal, right? Because in your mind, you think that it's all on them. As you saw earlier in the video, when I pet my cat a little bit roughly, he turned around and bit me on the hand, right? Pretty hard. But then I stopped and I started petting him more gently because I approached the situation consciously and I realized, hey, he doesn't like this. He doesn't like that, right? And instead of blaming him for biting me, I decided to change the way I was petting him. And what did he do? He sat there and enjoyed me petting him. Did he have to? No, but it worked, right? It changed the situation. Same with a person. You approach them in a rude way, they're gonna bite you. They're gonna respond in a negative way depending on their level of consciousness. Now, if they're super conscious, they're probably gonna respond in a loving way. And they're gonna change the situation because then you're gonna be like, oh shit, I didn't expect that, right? So you wanna be that person to make someone say, oh shit, I didn't expect that. Because when someone approaches you in an aggressive manner and it doesn't faze you, and you're still just as sweet and just as kind as you would have been if they approached you in a negative way, you automatically change the situation. Because now you surprised them. They're like, oh, how am I supposed to be mean to someone that was just nice to be being mean? Obviously it didn't work, right? Like, me being mean, like, the whole reason someone's being mean is because they expect you to be mean. But when you're not, then they have to rethink their strategy. It's not working, so to speak. Maybe they don't have a strategy, but in a way, they're expecting a result. They're expecting people to be mean, and so they're being mean. It's like a defense mechanism, right? Like, attack first, right? Attack first. The best defense is what's that saying? The best defense is a good offense, right? So just attack first, so then you get the first blow, right? Now what happens if the other person is like Bruce Lee? He's like water. He just goes right through him, and he just flows with it. Doesn't bother him at all. It doesn't hurt him at all. You throw your biggest strike, just, and he's just like cool, calm, just water. Doesn't affect him. That'll shock the shit out of you, right? There's a story of someone who spit on Buddha's face, and he just wiped it off. The guy couldn't sleep the next night, the night after. Buddha's brother Ananda was really, really upset. He was about to attack the person, and Buddha said, you don't need to do anything. I'm not upset. The guy came back and fell at his feet after not being able to sleep for a few nights. And begged him for forgiveness, and Buddha said, there's nothing to forgive because I was never upset. That's true power. True power. When he approached the situation from a conscious point of view, realizing that that response was the most powerful response. You know? There would have been no lesson learned if he just beat the crap out of the guy, right? That wouldn't have been a Buddha thing to do. Imagine Buddha just like beat the crap out of him. That would not be a Buddha. So, meet the situation consciously, you change the situation. So what happens in the external world depends on your state of consciousness. Let that sink in. These are all Eckhart Tolle. This is Eckhart Tolle talking right now through Marat. What happens in the external world depends on your level of consciousness. That means you are creating your reality. You probably hear that all the time. And we don't realize that we're creating our reality because we think that things happen out there and then, you know, we're getting affected. We're like, oh shit, oh, dodge that one. Oh, we're playing this game. Like, but actually, things are happening here and they're being reciprocated. Reality is reciprocating everything. Our responses, our reactions, it's reciprocating them. Now, of course, it's doing this with everybody, so it's like a giant game. But you directly impact your own reality. Because your consciousness is directly connected to the situation. So it's not like you're separate and the cat, Mojo, right? He's separate. No, we're both in the same situation. I pet him roughly, he bites my hand. If I got mad and I smacked him or like punched him or something, then the response would change. He would either bite me harder or he'd run, you know, depending on the dynamic of the situation. Like if you do this, let's say he was a feral cat, I would have been done. He would have bitten the shit out of my hand and I would have been in the hospital. Now, my situation would have been completely different from what it would have been if I approached this situation consciously and decided, oh, that's a feral cat. I'm going to respect this cat and I'm going to leave him be. Because he ain't messing around. He ain't my friend Mojo here. He's not my cat. My cat will leave me off the hook. He'll bite me and it'll hurt, but he won't dig his teeth into me, which he could very easily if he wanted to. But he loves me, so he won't do that. So there's a different dynamic at play. Your consciousness and the reality that you live in are one and the same. So your reaction, your response to the situation directly affects the situation. I hope this is making sense. Once you realize that you're not at the mercy of the situation, but its own creator, you begin to change external reality by being present and sometimes taking the proper action. So you don't even need to act, but when you take the right action, you change the situation towards your the outcome that you would like, or the better outcome. Even if you don't like that, but it's the right outcome, you will move it towards the correct outcome, because you don't think in terms of selfishness. You think in terms of what's best for everything, everyone. Our job is to first shift our consciousness deeper and higher. Then this shift will create a ripple effect, affecting other human beings. The situation we are in is exactly what we need for our evolution. And everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful end of the year. It's been a difficult one, but also I think I've learned the most out of any year. And I have this strong feeling that every year I will be learning more and more in different ways. But I can feel myself consciously becoming deeper and becoming more aware than I've ever been. More loving, more connected with my emotions, more fulfilled by less. Even though my outside circumstances have been really, really challenging in the last year, and they still are, I'm looking at everything in a very positive light, and I'm seeing the big picture slowly, very slowly. And I'm smiling because I'm enjoying the process of discovering who I am. And I hope you do the work too. And I hope we can connect more. Keep living, loving, and leveling up. And seize the moment to give you enough. Much love.